The golden glass doors of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel gleamed under the soft glow of 100 spotlights. On any other evening, this might have felt like magic to Maya Henderson. The laughter inside sparkled like champagne, delicate and expensive, echoing across the Italian marble lobby like a private melody meant only for the elite. But tonight, something was off. She stood poised, elegant, and completely out of place, not by her own doing, but by the cold, calculated architecture of rejection. A voice cut through the air, sharp, rehearsed, and designed to wound without leaving bruises. "I'm sorry, but your name isn't on the list." The sentence floated in the air for a second before it slammed into Maya like a silent slap. She turned her head slightly and met the eyes of Victoria Sterling, the event organizer. Tall, blonde, and carved from ambition, Victoria clutched her golden tablet like it was a shield. Her tone, honeyed with venom, never wavered. Maya blinked slowly, adjusting the strap of her midnight blue clutch. "There must be some mistake," she said calmly, her voice as smooth as silk but fortified like armor. "My name is Maya Henderson. My family attends this gala every year." Victoria offered a lazy, almost theatrical smirk and tapped at her tablet. Henderson. Oh yes, here it is." She paused deliberately. "It appears there was a reorganization of the guest list. Capacity issues, I'm sure you understand." Maya said nothing for a moment. The words weren't new. She had heard variations her whole life. Capacity issues. List was full. It's a private event. All wrapped in politeness, but always hiding the same truth. You don't belong. But tonight wasn't just any night. This wasn't just a party. This was the winter-born annual charity gala, the crown jewel of high society's social calendar, and it was being held at the hotel her father secretly owned. Even more than that, it was a fundraiser for the very orphanage she had lived in until she was 8. Behind her, the sound of heels clicking and tailored coats rustling signaled a growing line of guests. The cold lobby air, fragrant with luxury perfume, grew tense with murmurs. Maya straightened, her poise untouchable. "Interesting," she said softly, "especially considering that my family donated $2.5 million to this organization last year." Victoria's artificial smile flickered for the briefest moment. Her eyes darted nervously before she composed herself again. "As I said," she repeated, voice tighter, "capacity issues. Perhaps next year, if there's interest." The implication wasn't subtle. Maya inhaled slowly, carefully, like someone tasting poison just to memorize its flavor. But before she could respond, a familiar voice came from behind. Too sweet, too polished. "It's such a shame." The voice dripped with false sympathy. "Some places just aren't meant for certain people." Maya turned. Vivian Blackwood, wife of oil magnate Franklin Blackwood. Dressed in glittering gold, Vivian looked like wealth incarnate, her hair perfect, her lips fixed in a practiced smile of superiority. Flanked by 2 other socialites, Vivian sipped her champagne like she was enjoying a performance, and Maya was the show. "Certain people?" Maya asked, her brow raised, head tilted in elegant defiance. Vivian didn't blink. "You know what I mean. It's not personal, darling. It's cultural appropriateness. There are traditions here, standards. Things must be upheld." "Standards," Maya repeated slowly as if chewing the word. "Yes, I know all about standards." A third voice entered. This one male. Confident. Bored. "Is there a problem here, Victoria?" Thomas Whitmore. Banker. Donor. Power broker. Dressed in a tux that likely cost more than most cars, he surveyed Maya with the same expression one might give a scuff on. Polished shoes. "No problem, Mr. Whitmore," Victoria replied smoothly. "Just a small protocol issue." He looked Maya up and down. "Ah, I see. Well, I'm sure there are more appropriate events for people like you. Some of the community events are quite fulfilling, I hear." And there it was. Not even an attempt at hiding it. Maya's phone buzzed quietly in her purse, a message from her father. "Arriving in 20. Everything okay?" She typed quickly. Perfect, just gathering evidence. She had recorded everything, every word, every glance. What they didn't know was that Maya wasn't just a girl in an expensive dress. She was the daughter of Richard Henderson, not only a billionaire, not only the gala's top private donor, but the silent owner of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel itself. And he was on his way. Maya tucked her phone back in, lifted her chin, and smiled. A smile that made Vivian unconsciously step back half an inch. You're right, Maya said quietly. Some people don't belong in certain places. Victoria blinked, confused. But the question is, Maya continued, voice calm but glinting with iron, who decides who those people are? She turned and walked toward the elevator. Her heels echoed through the marble floor like a countdown, and before the doors closed, she sent one more message. Dad, we need to talk. It's time. 40 miles north of the Grand Metropolitan, in the glass and steel headquarters of Henderson Industries, Richard Henderson stared at the glowing screen of his tablet. His office, spacious, understated, and elevated high above the skyline, was a place of calculation. Every deal, every acquisition, every empire-shifting decision had been made from the desk in front of him. But tonight, he wasn't thinking about business. His phone buzzed. Dad, we need to talk. It's time. Richard didn't need clarification. He knew that tone. His daughter only used those words when she'd exhausted all diplomacy, and that meant someone had crossed a line. He rose from his chair. Cancel all my meetings tonight, he said into the intercom, and connect me to legal. I want Jonathan Cruz at the Grand Metropolitan within the hour. There was a brief pause on the other end of the line. Yes, sir. Jonathan Cruz wasn't just any lawyer. He was the kind of man you didn't call unless you wanted the walls of an empire to shake. Former prosecutor, now a legend in corporate litigation. Tall, composed, sharp as shattered glass, and black. He and Maya had grown up in the same orphanage. They shared a bond made not of blood, but of survival. Years ago, Richard had funded Jonathan's law school education after Maya had begged him to look into the boy who protected her from a bully when she was 9. Tonight, the protector was coming full circle. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Maya sat alone in the lobby cafe. She hadn't gone far. She wanted to see everything, watch it all unfold, not with anger, but with the cool detachment of someone holding checkmate in 4 moves. Through the glass door, she could see the gala in full bloom. Waiters floated like ghosts in black and white, crystal flutes sparkled beneath chandeliers, and the room buzzed with a symphony of elitism. Maya took a slow sip of espresso. Her phone lit up again, this time with supportive messages. I saw what happened. That is unacceptable. Sarah Chun, daughter of the ambassador. Victoria has always been like this. My parents are furious. Marcus Williams, banking heir. Are you okay? Those women are awful. Dr. Amanda Foster, leading cardiologist. Maya read each message without responding. Not yet. The game had only begun. Across the lobby, in a velvet-lined corner of the bar, Victoria, Vivian, and Thomas sat together, basking in the glow of what they thought was a victory. Vivian sipped from her champagne glass and chuckled. Did you see how she just left? Quiet as a mouse. The best part, Thomas added, is that now we have precedent. If more undesirables try to infiltrate our spaces, we'll know what to do. Victoria smirked. She leaned forward, conspiratorially. My husband always says tradition is everything. Just because someone has money doesn't mean they belong. It's a matter of lineage. None of them noticed Maya had slipped back into the lobby, quietly taking cover behind a sculpted marble column. In her hand, a professional-grade smartphone, one that could record in ultra-clear audio and video. She streamed it live, but not to the public. Not yet. She sent it to a private list curated by her father. Activists, journalists, influencers, and watchdogs of social accountability. Lineage, Maya muttered, adjusting her camera. Let's talk about lineage. Just under an hour later, The revolving doors of the Grand Metropolitan spun open, and in walked Jonathan Cruz. He moved like a panther in a tailored charcoal gray suit, carrying a briefcase that looked more like a weapon than a legal accessory. His presence changed the temperature of the room. A few guests looked over curiously, sensing something important had arrived. He spotted Maya instantly. "Maya," he said, giving her a firm embrace. "It's been too long." "I'm glad you came," she said, her tone warm but focused. "I have something for you." She handed him the phone. He put in an earpiece and began scrolling through the footage. The further he watched, the darker his expression grew. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "It's like they were trying to get caught." "Arrogance," Maya replied, crossing her arms. "It's always loudest before it collapses." Then she handed him a small tablet with a folder titled Proof, Guardians of Tradition, Discrimination, Boycotts, Racist Messages, Emails, Screenshots, Secret Group Chats, Coordinated Plans to Block Black-Owned Businesses from Vendor Lists, Whispers of Boycotts, Internal Memos Discouraging Cultural Dilution, even a message from Thomas Whitmore suggesting that certain interns be screened more thoroughly if they came from inner-city scholarships. Jonathan stared at the screen for a long moment. "This is a gold mine. We can crush them with this." Maya nodded. "Let's begin." Downstairs in the underground parking level, Richard Henderson stepped out of his custom Bentley. No cameras, no red carpet. He entered through the employee corridor, known only to senior management. His face was expressionless, but inside him burned a fire that could scorch empires. As he walked, his phone buzzed with dozens of real-time notifications. Journalist Group A, watching livestream. Legal team, ready with injunction drafts. PR unit, prepared for press release within 30 minutes of signal. Richard didn't respond. He just nodded once to himself. They messed with the wrong daughter. Upstairs, Victoria raised her fourth glass of champagne, her cheeks rosy, her tone more smug by the minute. She hadn't noticed the hotel staff had begun to move differently, more alert. Nor that the lights in the ballroom had begun flickering gently, 3 times. It was the signal. The owner had entered the building. The band stopped playing. Conversations dropped to whispers. Then the PA system clicked on. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention for a very special announcement?" All eyes turned toward the back of the ballroom. From the shadows stepped Richard Henderson, flanked by Jonathan Cruz. His pace was calm, deliberate, like someone who had just arrived at a war he had already won. Victoria's glass trembled in her hand. Vivian froze. Thomas looked like he had seen a ghost. "Oh my God," Victoria whispered. "What is he doing here?" The ballroom of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel, once a stage for whispered deals and fragile alliances, now fell into unbreathable silence. Gone was the music. Gone was the clink of champagne flutes. Gone were the polite lies that propped up the illusion of perfection. All that remained was the sound of one man's footsteps echoing across the polished marble floor. Richard Henderson, billionaire, philanthropist, and the silent force behind the hotel, took the stage. The rich wood of the podium welcomed him like a throne. He didn't need notes. He didn't need a prepared speech. He had truth and rage sharpened into precision. "Good evening," he said, his deep voice slicing through the silence like a scalpel. "For those of you who do not know me, I am Richard Henderson. I am also the majority owner of this hotel." Gasps, audible, scattered. Shock rippled through the crowd like a crack in glass. "What you may not know is that I am also the father of Maya Henderson, the young woman who was humiliated at this entrance just hours ago." A collective shift. Guests turned to one another. Heads swiveled, eyes searched the crowd. Victoria. Sterling looked like her skeleton was trying to escape her skin. Vivian's hand shot to her mouth, trembling. Thomas Whitmore fumbled to put down his drink without drawing attention. This event, this gala, was meant to benefit children from broken systems. Children like my daughter once was. And yet tonight, the very people who claim to support those children publicly rejected one of them. He paused, scanning the room with the calm fury of a man who had decided there would be consequences. Now, he continued, gesturing toward Jonathan Cruz, we'd like to share something with you all. Jonathan opened the briefcase. Inside, a custom-built streaming tablet. He connected it directly to the ballroom's projection system, and then, the screen behind Richard flickered to life. A crystal-clear video began to play. Victoria Sterling's voice filled the room. Some places just aren't for certain people. It's a matter of cultural appropriateness. Tradition is tradition. We can't let just anyone feel entitled to participate just because they have money. There are issues of lineage to consider. The gasps turned into stunned silence. Maya entered the ballroom at that exact moment, walking slowly, deliberately. Wearing the same elegant dress, but now with an aura of royalty. The crowd parted around her like waves around a lighthouse. She stopped beside her father. Victoria, she said clearly, addressing the now pale and paralyzed organizer. Do you remember this? She held up a second tablet. On it, screenshots of a private group chat called Guardians of Tradition. Maya tapped the screen, sending the images to the projector behind her. The messages appeared one after another. We need to tighten entry this year. Some people just don't come from the right background. It's not about color exactly. It's about culture. They don't get our traditions. I don't care how much money they have, it's about who raised them. The crowd began to murmur again, no longer in shock but disgust. Maya scrolled forward. Here's one from 2 weeks ago sent by Mr. Whitmore. She read aloud. I'm speaking with board members to ensure we don't allow diversity to water down the integrity of the event. If we start letting one in, we'll have to let them all in. Thomas Whitmore took an involuntary step backward, his face paper white. Jonathan turned to him, voice hard. Mr. Whitmore, we've also recovered internal memos from your company. Emails instructing HR departments to quietly remove minority applicants from interview lists. Discrimination, documented, deliberate, and illegal. Gasps turned into phones being raised. Cameras recorded. Live streams launched. The reckoning had gone viral. Maya stepped forward. This gala is for orphans, for the underrepresented, for children like I once was. I came here to give back, and you treated me like a threat. She turned to Victoria, who now looked as if she could melt, into the floor. You told me I didn't belong, but what you didn't realize was that I never needed your permission to stand in this room. You did. At the back of the ballroom, reporters had begun to whisper into mics. Across the city, social media exploded. Justice for Maya. A lineage exposed. Elite Gate Victoria tried to speak, her voice cracking. You're twisting our words. It's all out of context. Maya looked at her, calm and sad. You didn't get caught, you got exposed. There's a difference. Jonathan stepped forward. Let me clarify what's happening next. Effective immediately, Victoria Sterling. Events is permanently banned from all properties under Henderson ownership. Additionally, a $25 million lawsuit for emotional distress and discrimination is being filed, alongside a federal inquiry. The crowd buzzed like a beehive. Vivian tried to sneak out the side door. A reporter followed. Thomas's phone buzzed violently. His board had just removed him. Victoria collapsed into a chair. Her mascara streaked. Her hands shook, but no one approached to comfort her. Not even her closest friends. Maya walked off stage slowly, her father beside her. As they exited, the crowd erupted, not with claps, but with a rising swell of murmurs that would soon become headlines. The night wasn't over. It was just the end of a lie. The following morning, headlines screamed across every major news outlet. Gala humiliation goes viral. Elite exposed by billionaire's daughter. Victoria Sterling blacklisted from society events after racism scandal. Maya Henderson's calm revenge inspires national conversation on lineage and privilege. The video clips had gone viral, spanning platforms in every time zone. Millions had watched as the elite, smug and secure in their isolation, were brought down by their own words played back in HD with chilling clarity. Within 72 hours, Victoria Sterling's event company lost every major client. Her office lease was terminated for reputational concerns. Her bank froze several accounts pending an investigation into fraudulent donations. Multiple former employees came forward with claims of racism, discrimination, and withheld wages. Her husband quietly filed for separation. She tried to call press conferences. No one came. She tried to post apologies. Comments were disabled within an hour. Within 2 weeks, her company was in bankruptcy court. By the end of the month, she was renting a small corporate office in a lesser-known district, working as an administrative assistant for a second-rate firm. Across town, the Henderson Foundation for Social Equality opened its doors in a 50-story tower downtown. Maya sat behind a custom mahogany desk, designed by artisans from Ghana, overlooking the same skyline that had once pretended she didn't exist. She had refused her father's offer to name the foundation after her. Instead, she chose something bigger. "It's not about me," she told a reporter. "It's about the children who are still invisible." Under her leadership, 15 luxury hotels implemented mandatory inclusion protocols. 3 national event organizations rewrote their participation policies. Donations to orphanages increased by 340% in the first quarter after the incident. The original orphanage where Maya spent the first 8 years of her life was completely rebuilt using funds from the Henderson Foundation. Children now slept in warm beds, studied with smart tablets, and had mentors from universities across the country. Every child had access to a personal development plan, complete with therapy, nutrition, and schooling support. And in the entrance hall of that orphanage stood a framed photo. Maya Henderson, graduation day, between Richard and Margaret, beaming, underneath. Every child deserves a future without limits. One Sunday afternoon during family dinner at the Henderson estate, Margaret looked across the table at her daughter. "They tried to silence you," she said, gently placing her hand over Maya's. "But all they did was amplify your voice." Richard nodded. "The Grand Metropolitan is now a symbol. We've received recognition from the Chamber of Commerce. We're planning to replicate the protocols across all our properties." Maya looked down at her plate, then at the city glowing outside the windows. "It's not revenge that changed anything, it was the truth. Truth in the open has power. It makes rot shrivel." Weeks later, a golden envelope arrived at the foundation. Winterborn Annual Gala, now renamed the Gala of Hope and Inclusion, the E. New organizer, someone handpicked by the foundation, had formally invited Maya to be the guest of honor and keynote speaker. Maya held the envelope in her hands for a long moment, then smiled. "A year ago, they told me I didn't belong. Now, they're asking me to lead." The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom was different, warm, inclusive, diverse. Gone were the sharp whispers and unwelcoming glances. People of all colors, backgrounds, and stories filled the room. It buzzed not with elitism, but with purpose. When Maya stepped onto the stage, the crowd rose in a standing ovation that lasted nearly 2 minutes. She waited until the room fell quiet. Then, without notes, she spoke. "A year ago, I stood outside this ballroom and was told I didn't belong. Not because of who I was, but because of what I looked like. That moment could have broken me, but instead, it woke me up. Discrimination is a disease. It survives in silence, thrives in shadows, and protects itself behind words like tradition and standards. But the cure is sunlight." The room was silent. True victory isn't watching your oppressors fall. It's building a world where the next generation never has to live through what you did. Applause erupted again, louder, stronger, sincere. Later that evening, a young man approached her during the reception. He looked nervous, but determined. "Ms. Henderson," he said softly, "I'm David. I came from the same orphanage you Did. I got one of your scholarships. I'm studying law now. I just wanted to say thank you for proving people like us can belong anywhere. Maya blinked back tears. She hugged him. Don't thank me. Build something. Help someone. That's how we win. 2 months later, a handwritten letter arrived. The envelope was plain, no return address. Inside was a note in careful script. Maya, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but your actions made me confront things I buried for decades. I'm trying to be a better person. I hope that counts for something. Victoria Sterling Maya read it once, then folded it neatly and filed it in a drawer, not out of spite, but as a reminder that people can change, but only after they face the consequences. And so, Maya Henderson became more than a name. She became a movement. Victoria Sterling became a footnote in a chapter of decline, but Maya, she became the chapter itself, written in bold ink with dignity, resilience, and fire. Because sometimes the best revenge is building a world so bright your oppressors go blind trying to look at it.